Hello, and welcome to this Q&A session of ITPro Live. I'm Jane McCallion, Features Editor at ITPro, and joining me to talk about how technology can be used to proactively build and enhance a strong internals culture within a business is Rebecca George OBE, Managing Partner at Deloitte. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you, Jane.
So, first of all, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and your role within Deloitte?
I am responsible for managing our public sector business across about 25 countries in Europe and the Middle East, and I sit on our executive committee. Also, outside of Deloitte, I am the president of the BCS, the Chartered Institute of IT.
Now, having a strong culture is fundamental to any business, but how can IT as a function help shape that?
Well, we're living in extraordinary times, aren't we, Jane? And I suppose there's two answers to this question. One might be pre-COVID, and the other one might be now. And I'll do the now as we're here. I think that the current pandemic has changed everything. With so many people moving to work virtually, work remotely, work online, the IT department is completely and utterly vital, isn't it? I know our own IT department, but IT departments all over the country have worked absolutely tirelessly to shift everybody to a home environment, to shift all of their support services to the home environment, and to keep everything going. And I actually suspect that's going to be the shape of things to come. If I just take a step back, the IT department already was absolutely ubiquitous across all organisations. You can't manage any aspect of an organisation today without IT. So IT is everywhere, and arguably the boundaries around an IT department are much more porous than they used to be.
Yeah, I think when you think of the IT department, you kind of think of like the IT team comedies and stuff that you get, stuff like Silicon Valley. And is there perhaps a breaking down of that sort of nerd culture, kind of those are the guys in the basement type thing, to slightly more of the heroes of the business now that they've enabled this to all take place, and you and I can talk to each other in little boxes virtually at ITPro Live?
Yeah, I think that's a really a great comment. Personally, I think the IT department's been changing for many years, and it's a long time ago that you've got kind of groups of guys sitting at their desks programming on their own. You still get some of that, but the reality is that an awful lot of IT work is about teams working together. It's about getting diversity of thinking, diversity of thought. It's about mixing people who understand technology with people who understand the business or the market or the environment or the customers. It's about developing stuff, testing it, developing it again. I think things have changed, and I think they're going to change further going forward. And I think one of the challenges we have, and certainly it's something we give quite a lot of thought to at the BCS, is as the role of the IT department changes and as roles change and people start working more closely with the business, how do you ensure that the actual deep technology, the IT piece, the coding piece, is safe and secure and ethical and professional?
And how do you do that?
Well, I think it's down to a number of factors. So first of all, I think it's down to the professionals themselves. I know, because I work with IT people all the time, that people who work in IT absolutely work with integrity and thoughtfully about the systems that they're creating and the effect that they're going to have on their users or citizens or society as a whole. I also know, because I work mainly with public sector and governments and also with large IT organisations, but many SMEs as well, that organisations want professional standards and want to be working in a professional and ethical way. And it's kind of obvious why, because the public or citizens or end users of any kind need to be need to trust the IT they're using. They need to trust their computer systems, and they need to know that they can do what they say on the tin. And so, therefore, the people who design them need to be professional as well and work to professional standards.
Yeah.
From a personal point of view, sorry, Jane. From a personal point of view, I happen to think that all IT professionals should be externally accredited in the profession, and that is why I guess I'm president of the Chartered Institute of IT.
Yeah, and that, I guess, can help to build towards, like I say, that internal culture, that knowledge that that your IT people, are professionals. Not that they're not otherwise, but it's nice to kind of have a standard and something to say. Yes, I am, this person, the same way as you would, your accountants.
Absolutely.
So, thinking about remote working and the associated tech tools that sort of underpin it, what role do they have to play in the equation of, building this idea of an internal culture using IT?
So I think that you always have to remember that technology can only support and enable culture. You can't actually create the culture with technology. So the
Yeah.
role of the IT organisation is very much to make sure that all of the tools that the organisation wants are available, that they work, and that they're secure. I mean, certainly from a leadership perspective, my observation over the last few months is that successful leaders, and all leaders are using technology, particularly video, to bring their distributed and virtual organisations together, which is why it's a particular shame that we're not able to use video today.
Yes. Yeah. It's it's a classic, isn't it? That these things never quite work. They never quite work when you want them to.
So it's
I do,
it's a function of me living in Somerset, I think, and not having 5G yet. Something that we must all urge the government to get on with.
oh no, you and I are in danger of getting on a rural broadband hobby horse here. So we'll go back to the IT culture. And IT teams and users, they're always seen as, kind of being in friction, being at loggerheads with each other. Users they just want to do stuff, they want to be productive. IT teams can sometimes be seen as barriers to productivity. So, what can be done to bring these two groups closer together and get them working, not even necessarily get them working the same team, but realize that they are working for the same cause?
So I think that's a really great question, and I think it's a harder question to answer at the moment because not only do we have end users just wanting to do stuff, and at the moment do it virtually, but also you have in virtually all industries core sets of users who love to design IT stuff. So, one of the sectors with a huge amount is healthcare, and there are lots and lots of incredibly bright people in healthcare who just love designing apps. And the fact of the matter is, regardless of whether you're in healthcare or any other sector, when you design an app and you put it out there and people start using it, it has to sit in some sort of governance framework, because people will put data into it and it might pull data out, or it's going to have to sit in an IT environment that may change over many years. And so, the IT department do sometimes end up having to put rules, regulations, and governance and compliance around end users. And I can understand that can be frustrating for the end users. But at the end of the day, if you don't, if you put a piece of code out into the world and let it run free, you actually have to understand what's going to happen to it, both today and in the future.
And I mean, it's also true that IT staff, the same as in any other sector, can suffer when it comes to mental health issues. And two of the things that really seem to affect IT workers are overwork and consequently burnout. What can businesses do to better support their IT staff and prevent this if possible?
This is really a really important area, because the value of IT workers has never been clearer. The industry is working tirelessly to uphold vital public services during the pandemic and keep communities connected and businesses running. And as a point, the BCS Vital Workers campaign recognises the contribution IT professionals are making to the crisis. But as an industry, we have to pay really careful attention to make sure that our IT teams are receiving the support necessary to uphold their physical and mental health. And there is a bit of a thing about the IT department being the department of yes. So, in spite of what you said earlier about users in IT perhaps being at loggerheads from time to time, at the end of the day, if the users want something, the thing the IT department wants to do is say yes. So we do really worry because the majority of IT workers are working from home at the moment. They're in constant reach of their devices. It's quite difficult to maintain that separation between work and not work when you're at home all the time. And we do really worry about people not switching off, not exercising regularly, and just missing the personal contact that you get and the collaboration and productivity that you get from working with other people in the same physical location. And the cost, by the way, is really significant. Deloitte published some research before the breakout of COVID-19 that found that poor mental health costs UK employers up to £45 billion a year. And we think the figure's likely to be even higher now, as many people will be feeling the strain from heavy workloads while working separately from their team members. So there are a few things that you can do. And one of them we think is to be really open, talking about mental health during team check-ins, providing support to individuals, and encouraging staff, especially junior staff, to speak out when workloads are unmanageable. My personal experience with this is that when leaders speak about how hard it is and their own mental health and well-being challenges, that somehow gives permission to their teams to speak as well.
Yeah. Sort of a very good way of doing leading by example, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for this session. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for joining me today. It has been a fascinating talk.
Thank you very much, Jane.